So being a business owner, I think the thing people think of, we're going to own our own business. We can set our own hours. I can pay myself. I can work as little or as much as I want. This is going to be easy. It's my own business. I can do what I want. And the reality is someone has to do the billing. Someone has to invoice. You have to make sure you're getting the money that you're billing for. You're having to make sales calls.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Path Found. This is the podcast where we unpack the winding, messy, and meaningful journeys that lead to the work we love and a life that feels right. I'm Monica Argandonian, and each week I'm going to sit down with someone whose path didn't follow a straight line, but it still led them to purpose and fulfillment and often surprising success. These are real conversations about mentorship, pivots, networking, self-doubt, mistakes that we all make, and what it means to find direction when the map runs out. These stories are here to inspire and guide you. We'll dig into the things school didn't teach, like how to navigate career twists, life lessons, and big transitions. If you like what you hear, please share the podcast with a friend, subscribe, and leave us a review. You can also find us on Instagram at PathFound Podcast or online at keystonenetwork.org. There you can send in your comments, suggest guests or topics, or even apply to be a guest yourself. This podcast is for you, my students, my peers, and anyone figuring it out as they go. As a longtime teacher and anthropologist, I've always believed in the power of stories. They remind us we're not alone and that it's okay to change your mind, take a different route, or still be unsure of what comes next. This is my pivot too, and so I'm glad to have you on this journey with me. Now let's get started. Welcome back to Path Found. Today's guest, John Sayers, never imagined he'd end up as an environmental scientist for California state parks. In fact, his journey took him through waves of uncertainty, from surfing and snowboarding to firefighting to running his own native plant nursery and even walking away from business altogether. Along the way, he discovered the importance of trying new things, building connections, and finding mentors who could help point him in the right direction. In this conversation, John shares how every twist, even the ones that felt like wrong turns, built the foundation for the career he loves today. If you've ever wondered whether it's okay to start over or if your detours really matter, John's story is proof that they do. So I am very happy to be here with you, John. I have John Sayers here from California State Parks, and I met you bringing a group of students out on a field trip, and you said some things that were really interesting about your background and what you had done. And, this podcast is that story. We want to hear how you got from wherever you started to this position now and where you're going after this. So I always start by asking, what were you like in high school?
So in high school, I was very introverted, very shy, very quiet. I played sports, but I kind of stuck to myself. I liked individual sports. So I played tennis, played golf. I spent a lot of time surfing, skateboarding with just a select group of friends. Was not very social, did not feel comfortable out in large groups meeting new people, didn't like talking to strangers, just was in my own little world.
Did you have interests? Like
My interests were all kind of based around more outside of school, so sports. So surfing, skateboarding, skimboarding, sailboarding, anything to do with water sports or standing sideways on a board, snowboarding. I skied a lot. I just wanted to be outdoors playing. So school thing wasn't really for me. I wasn't very focused in school. I thought it was, high school at least, I thought it was a little boring and easy, and I did not focus myself very well.
Did you have any idea what you wanted to do?
No, because growing up, my father was a geologist, actually a geotechnical engineer. So he spent a lot of time developing the lands in Southern California for housing developments. He always thought I would take over his business. So he built his own company from the ground up over 20 years, retired early, and he thought I would follow in his footsteps. So I was always told, I could go to the Colorado School of Mines and major in geology, or go to USC where he went to school or whatever, and get a degree in geology, take over the business. And so that's kind of what I thought I was going to do until I actually took geology classes.
Okay, so you graduated high school. You knew you were going to go to college, was kind of a given.
My parents knew I was going to college. I was indifferent to college and didn't really feel focused. So I spent a lot of time. I had a junior college near me that was really good. So I went to junior college, took classes for 2.5 years at junior college, just everything I could possibly take. So that's where I kind of figured out what I was interested in. High school didn't help me. It was junior college. I took geology, anthropology, philosophy, psychology, anything and everything I could take at the college, architecture, art, history. And it was was taking ecology classes that really struck home with me. I didn't know that was something you could really study. My mother and father wanted me to follow in my dad's footsteps and be a geologist. So I was kind of always in the back of my mind thinking that's the way it was going to go. And taking ecology classes opened up this new world. Like, this is what I like doing every day. I like being outside. I like studying animals and plants and insects and like being with the snakes. And so that's where I kind of took a right turn.
That's awesome. So you finished community college.
So finished community college and then applied to UC schools. I really thought I wanted to go to one of the UC schools. Got my grades up in junior college, so I was getting honors certificates, whatever, doing really well. After the first initial year of not doing really well because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And as soon as I developed an interest in ecology, I guess I could say once I was interested in it, then I excelled in it. I wanted to be in school. I wanted to learn. So I was soaking up as much as I could. Got into UC Santa Cruz and transferred there. And that's where I did my undergraduate program in environmental studies, city and regional planning.
And then you graduate.
So that was kind of a strange time where they make you, I don't like when they make you pick a path.
Right.
You go left or right. And so I picked environmental studies. They had different emphases. I think there was agroecology, city and regional planning, and I can't remember the third emphasis in the program, but they make you pick a direction. And I picked city and regional planning. And the earthquake happened in Santa Cruz in 1989 and wiped out a lot of downtown. Most of the people that were working for the city of Santa Cruz planning department went to work for the rehabilitation part. And they opened up this like redevelopment program within the city of Santa Cruz. And so I interned there. I got a job with the city of Santa Cruz future planning department. And they put me to work developing 10-year plans. So coming up with ideas that would be implemented 10 years from now.
How old are you?
So being 21, 22, and being told, you're going to work on this plan and we'll get to it someday. I was just so eager to do something, just anything. And it was frustrating to come up with these plans that just went and sat on a desk, sat on a shelf. And so I just kind of threw up my hands and like, I'm done with this. I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do something. And I happened to have a friend at the time that had just graduated from college and he didn't know what he was doing. And he had just recently gone on a vacation to help deliver a car to Oregon to a friend, to a little town I'd never heard about. And he said, I think I might move there. And I said, and do what? And he goes, snowboard. I'm going to get a job at the mountain and go snowboarding every day. And I said, that sounds great. Can I go with you? And so we just packed up everything we had and drove to Oregon. And it was that weird in between college and get a real job where I'm like, I'm just going to go and have fun for a couple of years.
How long were you working for the city?
6 months.
Okay.
6-9 months. It was just frustrating. It was 6 months of working 5 days a week, developing plans that I felt were going nowhere.
Okay.
Little did I know 10 years later, they were implementing some of those plans because I still have friends in Santa Cruz.
Well, that's good to know.
But, they eventually get to it.
Yeah.
And as I've aged and matured, I realized these plans are important. But at the time, I was too young and full of energy. And so I ran away to Oregon. I got a job working at the mountain at night. I drove a snowcat, so heavy machinery. I drove a delivery truck. I did temporary jobs. And then I got a job in the summers as a firefighter. So I was a wildland firefighter for 2 seasons. That's a great career for some people. If you like being outside and you like sleeping in the dirt and you like eating bad food and you want to hike all day and do physical work, I have friends that they do it. I have friends whose sons have started doing it and daughters. It was not for me. I didn't like being tired every day.
Yeah,
You wake up at 5 a.m, you work 16, 18-hour shifts. We do it now here at state parks as resource advisors. So it's come full circle. But back then I realized that was going to kill me. And I didn't like doing that all the time. So I spent 2.5 years in Oregon working at the mountain, firefighting in the summer, decided at like 25, I need to crack down and get a job. I need a career. And I wasn't sure where. I didn't like the city and regional planning. I felt like I'd taken a wrong turn with the ecology. There wasn't a lot of jobs in Oregon. So I came back to California and started taking landscape architecture, landscape design classes again, because I really liked that. Thought maybe I might switch and become a landscape architect. Got into horticulture and growing plants and realized I could learn how to grow California native plants, which was kind of a specialty thing. There's not a lot of nurseries that do that. And I could work on restoration projects. So I could combine the interest in ecology with my interest in horticulture. And so I went back to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, got a degree in horticulture, focusing on native plant production techniques, and then went out into the field and realized it's not really a career people choose, native plant production, but there are nurseries out there that have native plants, and there's nurseries that specialize in, and it's a really small community. And so I would go to each and every nursery owner and people that were passionate about propagating native plants and learn as much as I could with the hope of having my own nursery someday and doing this as a career. I did it for a couple years in Santa Cruz. I worked for 2 different nurseries up there, managing native plant nurseries, and then came back to San Luis Obispo with the intent of starting a business with some friends. And starting a business with your friends is a good way to end friendships. We went down the route of developing a business plan, coming up with a business model, writing down all our roles and responsibilities, creating an LLC. I mean, I thought we did it right. And then we started fighting and bickering about the direction it was going and who was going to get to take money out and how many hours people had to work. And quickly, two of the partners left. And I was left with the nursery by myself and ran it for 3 years.
So did they leave right away?
They left before we had really started the business. We were just building the greenhouse, building the facilities, and they realized there wasn't going to be enough money for them to live and just left. So left me with a piece of property with a bunch of plants on it, and I had invested a lot of money into it, a lot of time, and so I stuck with it for 3 years, and I think I lost money the first year, broke even the second year, and the third year I probably made a couple $100. And that's profit after paying myself every month for my own. I came up with a number of what was appropriate to pay my bills. So I covered all my bills, but I wasn't making any money at the end of the day. And I decided I needed a change. And I was tired. So growing plants every day is like having thousands of little kids you have to worry about. And every time the wind would blow, or it would get hot, or it would get cold, or it would rain too much, I would worry all my plants were dying. All my plants were washing down the creek. Fire was coming to get my plants. I'm not going to be able to sell these plants. How am I going to make the month's rent? I have orders. I've promised people plants and I can't deliver. And so it just was too much stress for me to be forced to grow plants. I love growing the native plants. I love propagating native plants and learning how to propagate them. But the stress of being responsible for all that was too much for me. And so I walked away from it. I sold the nursery to someone else. They did something else with the property. And I took 2 years off and just did gardening jobs. I went up to the mountains and hiked. So another one of my in-between 2-year periods where I just disappeared and decided I wanted to try to get back into the ecology route and started looking at ecology jobs. And a job opened up here at Morro Bay State Parks in a field that I didn't know anything about. They basically advertised for an ecologist. And I said, well, I think I can do that. And so I interviewed for the position and they called me back and said they liked my personality. They liked what I had to say, but I wasn't the right fit for that job at the time. But was I interested in being a snowy plover monitor?
Tell people what a snowy plover is.
So my response was, what's a snowy plover? Exactly. So here along the coast, we have the western population of snowy plovers, which is a federally threatened species and is protected along the beaches during the nesting season. So from March to September, I was told you'll go out on the beach, you'll walk around, you'll look for nests. And I'm like, okay. I had no idea they nested in the bare sand, in the kelp, just above where the waves reach. That would be blocking off the beaches to people, that dogs aren't allowed on the beaches for many, many reasons. But a big one is they interfere with all the birds and nests out there. So I said, you know what? Sure. I don't need money right now. I had sold my business. I had a little money saved up. I didn't have a lot of expenses. Let me try this bird monitoring thing. I don't know anything about birds. And so I spent 2 years learning everything I could about the local ecology. And it was just another one of those steps of learning one more skill that was hopefully going to get me to the next step. And after 2 years of being a snowy plover monitor for the district and then working a little bit on the side, doing some weed work in the off season, a job opened up here full time. And that was 2007 and have been here ever since. And I think a big part of how I got the job was the connections I'd made through the nursery world and through the planning department and my friends at Caltrans, Fish and Wildlife, the National Estuary Program, the CCC, state parks, San Luis Obispo Land Conservancy. I had all these people that I could call on to ask questions. And I'd spent 2 years learning as much as I could here about birds and coastal ecosystems. I knew a lot about propagation of native plants and restoration projects, and it just seemed to fit for the department here and the program. And it's been the best 21 years. And yeah, if I could have started earlier, yeah, but it took me a long time to kind of make those decisions and find the right spot, the right fit.
So going back, if you had had a different business, did you like being a business owner?
No.
Okay.
So being a business owner, I think the thing people think of, so one of my business partners at the time thought, we're going to own our own business. We can set our own hours. I can pay myself. I can work as little or as much as I want. This is going to be easy. It's my own business. I can do what I want. And the reality is someone has to do the billing. Someone has to invoice. You have to make sure you're getting the money that you're billing for. You're having to make sales calls. I do not like doing sales. I do not like cold calling people and trying to sell products.
So one of the things you also mentioned was you had a network. You had lots of people because you had done all these different jobs.
Right.
So, if you're talking to someone, how did you build your network?
Through being interested in things. So like the nursery part, I would call up nurseries and say, hey, I'm really interested in growing native plants. Is there any way I could come by and talk to whoever it is on your staff that's in charge of the propagation program? I'd just like to pick their brain about seeds and techniques, cuttings, how they do things, when they do them, and they would give me little tidbits. I would visit all the nurseries in the area if they grew native plants and just ask them questions. When I was selling native plants, I was reaching out to anyone I thought could buy them. And then I have, like I said, I have friends that work for different state agencies like Caltrans and CDFW. And so it's talking to them all the time. But yeah, just reaching out. And what was nice about it was when I got this job, one of the answers to a question in the interview I told them was, I may not always know the answer, but I know a lot of people in the area. And so I think I can find the answer.
Right.
I'm not going to say I know everything, but I know a wide group of people. Maybe it's someone in accounting, maybe it's someone in web development.
Right.
There's people making friends. People use LinkedIn a lot. I don't so much, but like social media.
But you said you're even still friends with people who work in the city of Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
So keeping those relationships going. So what do you do now?
So when people ask me what I do, it's always interesting because they say, what do you do on a daily basis? And I kind of laugh and I go, I never know. So being an environmental scientist for Cal State Parks, sometimes we refer to it as just an ologist. I do a little bit of everything. So I lead our weeds and restoration program for the district. So I chase a lot of invasive non-native plants around, try to keep on top of where they are in the district. Are they a problem and can we control them and how do we control them? And then part of that process sometimes is causing major disturbances or following up on disturbances and growing a lot of plants to restore those areas so that we're sticking with our district policies of natural processes and natural succession. I'm not trying to force a landscape. I'm trying to restore it so that it can function and repair itself and then keep perpetuating itself as whatever that ecosystem is. But every day is different. We may have a wildfire one day. So this January, I got called down to Los Angeles to help out with the wildfires. We may have an oil spill tomorrow, tsunami. We get whales that die on the beach, bird die-off events, butterfly monitoring. So it's like every day, I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I have a good idea of we're going to come in. There's a lot of weeds that we have plans for. We have our restoration projects we're doing on a monthly and annual basis.
And you get to work outside.
And I get to work outside.
And every day is different.
Every day is different. I have to work at a desk a lot more. And they always say that. People will warn you over and over again through your career. The more you learn and the more responsibility you're given, the more inside time you have to work on plans and calendars and reports.
You like working, but you like your job.
I love my job.
So is this it? Is this where you'll stay till you retire?
Yes. So when I was working as a seasonal employee here, and this happens to people here, you work a couple years as a seasonal. You work the first year, it's really exciting. You work the second year and it gets a little old and you're like, okay, it's the same thing. We're doing the same things over again. By the third year, you're like, I feel like I want something else. I want more responsibility. I want more money. I need something else. And you start getting antsy. If you stick around 4 years, it's even worse. And then by that time, you're either I'm getting something here or I'm going to have to leave and go somewhere else. Because if you're in an area and you're looking around, there just aren't jobs. So I was open to, after 2 years of working here, I may have to move. I'm going to apply for a job here. If I don't get it, I'm going to look elsewhere and I'm going to move away from the area. I like Morro Bay. I like where I live, but I hadn't lived here that long that it was home yet. So I was open to moving. I was thinking of moving back to Oregon, Idaho, Washington, kind of a West Coast theme, but I was open to moving. I wasn't set. So getting the job offer kept me here. Like if they hadn't made the job offer, if I'd interviewed and they said, thank you for interviewing, but that's it. If I didn't get the job that I'd interviewed at this job that I have now, then I wouldn't have stayed here and I would have gone somewhere else and used the experience I gained here to go somewhere else. If you're not getting the job you want because you don't have enough experience, get more experience.
Okay. Maybe easier said than done.
Yeah. But and if you don't know how to do that, ask people. There. So I spend a lot of time, not so much currently, but I used to, doing mock interviews for the California Conservation Corps. And those are kids that have come through a program, 18 to 25. They don't know what they're going to do. They didn't want to go to college. They maybe want to take some community college. They're trying to figure it out. And we do these mock interviews and we're just trying to give them experience. And we spend a lot of time telling them, get more experience, talk to more people, make those connections.
Get out there.
Get out there. Yeah.
It's not coming to you.
Yeah. It's not going to get handed to you. Mm-hmm. When I graduated from UC Santa Cruz. I don't think they made the promises the same as when I graduated from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Cal Poly was big on telling people, get a degree and there are jobs waiting for you.
Yeah.
They're not waiting for you. There's plenty of jobs out there.
Mm-hmm.
Be flexible, be open to moving. We have people here that straight out of college, they started working for state parks, but they also in the summertime got a job working in Alaska. So chasing after other jobs that have similar experience, but have the funding sources. Yeah. So I think when I was younger, when I was 18, 19, there's this expectation that you have to make a decision, figure it out, make a choice, stick with it, do it for the rest of your life. You better hurry up. Life's moving fast. Get on the ball. Don't be a bum, that kind of thing.
Right.
You have years and years and years ahead of you. You don't have to make a decision right away. Do I wish I had figured out this career path sooner? Yes. Do I regret any of the life choices I made to get here? No, because I gained a ton of experience and they resulted in me getting this job. So anywhere where you can keep building on your experiences, don't be afraid to change directions. If you don't love something, don't do it for the rest of your life. Take those opportunities when you're young, before you have a family, before you have a house. The hard part, I think, for our seasonals here now is they don't make a lot of money. Real estate is really expensive. Cost of living is high. And I keep telling them, but you're building experiences. You're going to get there. Keep going down. As long as you still like what you're doing, keep doing it. Don't be afraid to move. That's a hard one for people. They really want to settle down early and focus on an area, and they're not willing to move. So now you're really limited. If you're not willing to move, you're not willing to leave your immediate area, then your job pool really confines you.
Right. So my last question, what would you tell your 21-year-old self, knowing what you know today?
I think in high school, I had this attitude of, I was shy, but I had this attitude of I really don't care. And life's moving fast. It's going to be over soon. Just enjoy the ride. And I think I would have buckled down a little harder early on. I was a little lackadaisical at the beginning of my career leaving school. I just wanted to go have fun. Like I said, do I regret that? No. I had a lot of fun in Oregon. I had a lot of fun in both times I went to college. I learned a lot from teachers and fellow students. I made a lot of connections. But yeah, 21-year-old self, I think at some point in my 20s was when I really sat down and was like, I need to focus. I need to find a job I like. And that was the big choice of getting to here was I was trying to find something that I could do that I really loved doing for the rest of my life and not just get a job. My parents were pushing me to just get a job. And I really wanted to find something that I loved doing. Even to this day, my dad's the only parent left. He hates what I do.
Does he?
So my dad worked with developers and he hates the ologists.
Yeah.
They're always in the way. They're always making up some bird or some lizard or some frog or some fish. They're just stopping. And I always say part of how I got here, I think, is as a child, I would always ride around in the car with my dad on his job sites. I was always hanging out in wild areas just before they got bulldozed. So I spent a lot of time in Southern California, riding around a car, seeing a lot of hillsides right before the bulldozer plowed them under. I worked for him for years, putting myself through college, watching landscapes get bulldozed, watching wildlife, just run out of the area away from the scrapers and the dozers and the water tenders. So I got comfortable around heavy equipment, but I was always gravitating towards the outside, towards the birds, towards the animals, towards the trees, towards the bushes, towards the snakes. And that's where I was I loved that. And I felt bad for it all happening. So I think part of me is almost trying to give back and protect what's left.
That's so interesting.
Because of what he did.
What an impact.
He resists what I do because it was hindering what he did.
Right.
So we have a great adversarial relationship today. He lives with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it couldn't be too adversarial.
No, I think sarcasm helps.
Nice. Well, John, thank you. I really appreciate your time and the great advice, but sharing your story. I enjoyed listening to that, especially that last part. I think that is really interesting that he helped tear it down and now you're giving back. But thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to Path Found. If anything we talked about today connected with you or gave you a new perspective, we'd love it if you subscribed, left a review, or shared the episode with someone you care about. You can also find us on Instagram at Path Found Podcast. To explore more stories, resources, and ways to get involved, visit KeystoneNetwork.org. This podcast is just one part of the journey. At Keystone Network, we're helping young people and anyone figuring it out as they go build meaningful futures one step at a time. A huge thank you to my podcast editor, David Strutt. You can find him on LinkedIn for helping bring these stories to life, and to Elizabeth Miner at Silvermine Creative for the beautiful artwork and web design. And if you're on your own path, navigating the unknown, making a pivot, or simply figuring it out as you go, just know you're not alone. The route may not be linear, but there's always a way forward. I'm Monica Argandonia, and I'll see you next time on Path Found.